Hello, my name is Captain Jack Springle from East Coast Charters, and I'm here at the Saltwater Edge in Middletown, Rhode Island. I'm going to demonstrate for you how to tie a wind-on style leader system. For tools, I have a means of cutting, I have a reverse latch style needle, I have the appropriately sized inline splicing needle, a bobbin, and a pair of dowels for tightening. Lastly, you're going to need some type of Zap-A-Gap or something to give you a little bit more adhesion. You don't have to necessarily have one of these. You can also just do it under tension in a rod holder at a boat. To start off, the first thing you want to do is you need to have your main line or your hollow core braid. In this case, I'm demonstrating 100-pound to 100-pound hollow ace to either a 100-pound fluorocarbon or monofilament connection. And what we're going to do is serve this main line with a piece of fluorocarbon or a piece of monofilament of equal amount of pound test. Shimano makes a kit via PowerPro that has a chart in it that will correctly demonstrate exactly what pound test line you can serve into hollow ace. The first thing we like to do is get our leader material, whether that be mono, fluoro, whether it be a top shot or just a leader itself, and we need to cut this at slightly an angle. If you have the correct size needle, you'll have to work it in slightly. It should be snug. You don't want to have it just slide in easily, because when you're serving, it'll allow the leader to slip out of your braid. So I'll take that hollow core needle, bunch up the braid itself, and create a little bit of a honeycomb there so that I can penetrate it. Then you're just going to easily work your tip of your splicing needle inside of that hollow ace so that you can get a purchase. And then what you're going to do is you're going to work this up about 3 feet into the line, like so. Just gently work from the tip, and you'll notice it'll just slide through. And I'm just going to keep working that down the line until I get about 36 inches. Eventually you'll pass the length of the needle and it'll start going down your leader itself. If while you're doing this you accidentally penetrate the line with the needle, you can just back the needle point back into the line. You see I'm about 1.5 feet in there now, about halfway through. For the sake of a portable loop-to-loop style wind-on leader, 3 feet is much more practical, especially going through your guides. If you go any longer, it can kind of create wind knots and a lot of resistance. But for the sake of an inline leader, if you're just doing this directly to the line on your reel, you can go as far in as you'd like. For me, I go about 3 feet regardless on any of my spinning setups. If I'm doing an offshore splice to a top shot, I'll go up as far as 6 feet. I've reached the desired length into my serve, into my splice. I'm going to bunch this line up before I exit onto the needle itself, penetrate it, and then I'm going to hold the monofilament or the fluorocarbon behind the needle in place and advance the needle up and out of the hollow core. And what that'll allow it to do is bury the leader material inside of the hollow core. I'll pull that section tight, and then what I'll do is I'll pinch that and I'll walk my hand back down toward my leader, reducing any of that slack or any of that bunching up on the line, creating a nice firm tight finish. And you'll notice there's a little transition where they meet. And what I'm going to do is walk that to about a midpoint from my leader material to where my splice will begin. So now I have the inline connection of my leader material to my hollow core. I'm going to place one part of that inside my homemade jig, and then I'm going to take my leader material, put some tension on that, and also place that on the opposite side of my jig. So here I have what's called a PR bobbin tool, and this is weighted on one side and will allow you to keep tension by means of an adjustable knob on the actual winding. Take the tag end of my main line, the PowerPro, slide that up inside the tube on the PR tool, and I'm just going to press that in between these two rubber gaskets to keep it tight to the spool, so I don't have to attach any kind of knot or anything to make that hold. Then what I'm going to do is wind that all the way up onto the bobbin itself. We're going to wrap about 2.5 inches down the actual leader with a loosely spaced 1/8 of an inch spacing on each wrap, but still firmly tight to the line. And I'm going to hold it right here at my main line, right where the splice itself occurs. Again, I can use the weight of this bobbin to keep tension on it. I'm keeping these fairly tight, but you'll notice there's a little bit of spacing on each one of these wraps. About 2.5 inches, and you'll notice I've got a nice evenly spaced, maybe 1/8 of an inch apart, till I get to the very end of that. And then what I'm going to do is pinch this end, and now I'm going to wrap very tightly up against itself back over those loose wraps. So the first couple I'll kind of do manually like that. So I put each wrap in front of the next, and then you're just going to spin this bobbin tool. all the way back down those loose wraps that you have, and you'll notice so far I'm nice and tight all the way down until I get to where my initial splice occurred. Then once I get there, I'll manually do a couple more wraps. Now I like to lock this with a half hitch. So what I'll do is I'll take this tag end, I'll make one over the top style half hitch on it, slide that down to those wraps, and that makes a nice firm connection. And then to finish this, all you have to do is what we call a rizzuto finish. Take the tag end, just like you're gonna do a single half hitch, go underneath. Now if I pulled this tight, that would be a half hitch. But with a rizzuto finish, you're gonna go through 2 more times. So that's 2, that's 3, okay? You're gonna pull that down until it gets close to the back side of your wraps. You're now gonna unwrap this, okay? From the back side of this loop, this side, you're gonna unwrap this 3-turn rizzuto, and that's gonna re-wrap it on the front side. So it's gonna essentially wrap back over this tag end, whip finishing it. So again, I'm gonna unwrap this now. 1, 2, 3. So now I have this large tag loop on the back, and it's reburied my tag end in the front. You want to keep that clean and pull that nice and tight. So what I'll do is I'll take a dowel, this one I have wrapped with tape just to keep a little bit of an extra purchase on it. Come nice and tight, and I'll pull tight on this all the way against the knot. And then all you have to do, take a pair of scissors. I leave a little bit of a piece on there like that. It makes me feel better. Right where I did that rizzuto finish, I just put a little piece of zap like that. And then I just run the tag, the little bit of excess right back down the knot. It actually will add a little bit of a lubrication going through the guides. But this is now the self-serving splice itself. Just that Chinese style finger trap is 100% connection. It's not gonna break on you. The problem is if you were to create shock load in the line where the actual contact made point, a point of entry there, it can back off with like a kind of a constriction type approach. So by putting this knot on here, which is essentially a PR bobbin knot, that also is 100%. So now you've got 200% points of contact holding your inline splice, and this goes through the guides like butter. You'll never know it's there. So if this was coming directly off my reel, I now have my Top Shot wind-on style leader.